It all started with a joke. A letter from our HOA, demanding we remove our garden gnome. He was big, wore a leather jacket. We thought it was hilarious. Mark and I couldn't stop laughing. My name is Sarah Carter. My husband Mark and I had an amazing life in our little neighborhood. We were lucky enough to find this house. It was a beautiful colonial with a wraparound front porch situated in a cul-de-sac. It also had a great garden where we placed gnomes and lawn ornaments. Our daughter would greet each one every morning on her way out to collect her free newspapers. Our neighbor on the left was Mrs. Goldstein, a sweet old lady who lived alone after her husband passed away. And next to her was the Harrisons, a young married couple who worked from home. Lastly, the vacant lot next to us was being prepped to build another house. So it was being maintained by the developer until the building permit process could be finalized. We never had any problems with the neighbors. We waved to them while passing by. We exchanged pleasantries with them on summer evenings when we sat outside sipping lemonade, and most times, depending on the time of year, we shared Christmas carols or Halloween candy. The neighborhood was filled with kids, so we always had a steady stream of children playing on the street. It was a very friendly and charming neighborhood. We had a homeowners association. HOAs are required by law to watch over the community and make sure that everyone abides by the rules. The monthly fee was only $30, which paid for maintenance of the common areas and amenities like the swimming pool, parks, basketball courts, and the clubhouse. The first time we ever heard about trouble was exactly 3 weeks ago. One Saturday morning, my daughter wanted to go to the mall. She asked me if she could take some friends along. I agreed and we started getting ready. I finished getting dressed and went outside to put on some sunscreen. As I did, I noticed a bright orange envelope hanging from our doorknob. Curious, I opened it up. It was a violation notice from our HOA. I thought it was some kind of mistake. So I started reading it. It said that we had violated several sections of the neighborhood regulations regarding approved garden ornamentation. Apparently, the only approved garden art forms were those listed on the HOA website. But before I could even look up what types of gnomes were banned, Mark came and stood beside me reading over my shoulder. He let out a deep sigh. "This must be a joke," he said, shaking his head. The letter continued. "The Carters are hereby notified that the garden gnome located in the front garden bed, directly adjacent to the sidewalk, is deemed unapproved garden ornamentation. Therefore, the Carters are given 5 days from the date of this notice to remove the offending item or be subject to a fine of $250. There was even a picture of our poor gnome attached to the notice. I burst out laughing. Was someone really trying to tell me that my cute little gnome was a disturbance? I mean, for goodness sakes, gnomes are considered good luck. Maybe it was because of its size. It was rather large, coming up to my thighs. Or maybe it was because of its posture. It was dressed in a leather jacket and posed with crossed arms. Mark and I looked at each other and started laughing uncontrollably. By the time our daughter got back from the mall, we had calmed down, but our sense of humor was still intact. Then the violation letters kept coming. Mrs. Goldstein received one for the statue of Buddha in her garden. Mr. Harrison received a violation notice for his wind chime, which apparently exceeded the decibel limit set forth by the HOA. Then the letters stopped. We assumed that the HOA had reconsidered their position. Mark even placed a couple of new lawn ornaments out front. We were pleasantly surprised when the HOA didn't say anything about them. Then the phone call came. It was Sunday evening and we were having dinner when the phone rang. It was Mr. Jenkins, our HOA president. He said that he wanted to speak to us about our recent behavior. I was taken aback by his attitude. "I'm sorry, did you say something?" I asked cautiously. "I said that I want to have a mandatory meeting with both of you at the clubhouse on Tuesday at 7 p.m., he replied. I wasn't sure why he was calling me personally instead of sending us a letter. Also, the fact that he used the word mandatory made me feel uncomfortable. I asked if we could get the meeting minutes and agenda sent to us. His reply was short and clipped. "There won't be any minutes and the agenda will be discussed at the meeting. You are required to attend. If you don't show up, there will be consequences." After he hung up, we looked at each other. No agenda, no minutes. Mandatory attendance. Threats. What the hell was going on? Why were we being singled out? Mark and I drove over to the clubhouse early Tuesday morning to check it out. We were shocked to see that the gnomes had already been removed. But that wasn't the worst of it. The same was true of all the other decorative items that had been cited in previous violations. Even the vacant lot next door had been cleared of all landscaping rocks and bushes. Every single front yard in the neighborhood was completely bare except for the grass. We were confused. We wondered if they had all done this on their own. We walked around looking for clues, but all the yards appeared normal. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Then we saw it, a stack of envelopes sticking out from behind the mailbox post. I carefully picked one up and opened it. It was the same bright orange paper as the violation notice. The letter stated that we had been fined $250 for failing to comply with the HOA's request to remove the garden ornaments. It was signed by the HOA Vice President, Eleanor Whitmore. At the bottom of the letter, it read, "Please remit payment within 10 days of receipt of this notice." Below that was a scary line that read, "Failure to pay the fine may result in additional penalties and/or liens being placed against your property." We were dumbfounded. We knew we weren't doing anything wrong. We hadn't violated any laws. The HOA didn't have the authority to place a lien on our house, and they could possibly fine us for not putting up decorations when the decorations had been removed by them. We pulled out our phones and took pictures of everything. We had a hunch that the HOA might try to mess with us again, so we stayed extra vigilant. We checked our front yard every day. As a matter of fact, we even started keeping lights on at night to make sure that nobody would come into our yard. On Thursday night, the lights went out. I went to check on them and found that all the bulbs had been smashed. Next to them, I saw a small bucket filled with dirt and a muddy handprint. My daughter cried when she saw what had happened. Mark and I tried to comfort her, but secretly we were starting to get scared. Who was doing this to us? Why? On Saturday, we woke up to find that our mailbox had been completely destroyed. It was lying on the ground in pieces, ripped apart as if someone had wanted to destroy it. The message was clear. The HOA meant business. But how far were they willing to go? On Monday, we came home from work to find that someone had spray painted across our driveway, "Conform or leave." That was it. Mark had had enough. He called the police and filed a report. I didn't think it would do any good. The police were indifferent. It was just a bunch of kids trying to stir up some trouble. On Tuesday, the HOA sent us another letter. This time it informed us that we had violated the noise ordinance and had been fined $500. Apparently, our wind chimes were making too much noise. He threatened to place a lien on our house unless we paid the fine immediately. We've decided that we're gonna fight back. Mark spent last week gathering evidence of all the harassment that we've endured. We talked to our neighbors and they admitted that they had received similar violation notices, but they assumed they were isolated incidents. We discovered that all the houses in the neighborhood had received these kinds of threats. This weekend, we're gonna host a neighborhood watch meeting. We managed to get over half the residents to sign a petition demanding a vote of no confidence in the board. All we need now is a good plan, and here it is. The annual general meeting will be held tonight. We're gonna demand a vote of no confidence in the board. I'm gonna ask everyone to bring a flashlight. If there's enough support for the petition, we'll start removing the board member by member. And if we find any wrongdoing, we're gonna expose them. Okay, it's showtime. The neighborhood meeting was packed. Everyone was angry. I raised my hand. Does anyone support the removal of the current board of directors? Nearly everyone's hand went up. Next, I presented the petition. If you signed this, please stand. Almost everyone stood up. President Holloway looked pale. He tried to speak, but I cut him off. Don't bother denying it. We know what you've done. We have the proof. I handed Mark a flash drive. Please play the video, Mark. Mark plugged the flash drive into the projector and turned it on. The video showed the interior of President Holloway's house. The date was December. President Holloway had transferred $12,000 from HOA funds to his personal account. The transaction description read, "Landscaping." The next video was from February. This time the transaction description read, "Security." The amount was exactly the same. That's only 2 months, I said. How much do you think he pocketed in the past 12 months? How much do you think he pocketed in the past 5 years? There was a loud gasp. People started talking among themselves. I could hear comments like, "He was stealing from us," double quotes, and, "I can't believe he was ripping us off." I raised my hand to quiet everyone down. I'm not done yet. Not even close. I turned to the projector once again. All the money he stole from us was supposed to go towards landscaping and security. Yet look at our yards. They're all a mess. He had no intention of spending a dime on us. He was just pocketing the money. Suddenly, Mark spoke up. "Everyone, please look at your screens right now. All eyes were on the projector as Mark revealed that it was live streaming. The whole neighborhood was watching the president being exposed. I could see the rage on people's faces. I knew that they had finally realized what a monster they had elected as their leader. Just then, the door burst open and 2 police officers entered. President Holloway had apparently called them to have us removed for trespassing. But as they walked inside, they saw hundreds of angry faces. I smiled at them. "Sorry to interrupt your meeting, gentlemen, but it looks like you'll be arresting 2 people tonight." President Holloway was escorted outside in handcuffs. The rest of the board followed soon after. It took us a few months to get everything sorted out. The old HOA board was dissolved, and a new board was elected. The fraudulent fees were refunded, and the neighborhood was revitalized. We became friends with our neighbors. We started a neighborhood watch group, and our daughter is no longer afraid to walk outside. Maybe this is the moral of the story. Fear thrives in silence, but courage is contagious. Thanks for watching.